name is Charlie Banks, and I'm a 16-year-old kid who started the Young Minds podcast to spread the word of God. And it is my goal that through this podcast, you learn, you laugh, you cry, whatever it may be. I just hope that you enjoy it and maybe grow in your relationship with Christ. But always remember that this thing that the Lord is starting is way bigger than any of us. So let's get after it. Welcome back to the Young Minds Podcast. I have a really special episode for you today. It's not often that people bring their moms onto the podcast because they may think because they listen to them, right? Well, today is the day. I'm going to bring mine on today, and it is actually, as the time of that you're listening to this, it is going to be my birthday on Saturday. So that's why we're doing it, so that way you can learn a bit more about me and her. But Mom, if you could just introduce yourself, and then we'll just go right on.
Okay, my name is Janet Kreider Banks, and as you just heard, I'm Charlie's mom. And on Saturday, he is going to be the big 17. And I can't believe it that my baby is 17 years old. I'm fixing to be 17. So that's about it. I've worked in produce probably about half my life now.
Yeah.
And I love Jesus, and I am.
So happy to be at Northside right now, huh?
I am very happy to be at Northside right now. I love the people. I love the church. I get excited when I walk through the doors, and I don't want to be anywhere else most of the time.
Honestly, nope.
That is the truth.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I know we kind of wanted to do things a little bit differently than how I formulate things, I got my formula, but hey, if you want to change it, let's do it. Okay. So you kind of wanted to go into talking about the medical stuff first and all that, which... we'll save you a bunch of stuff, but there's a lot that we're going to go into. We actually have some medical records here. So, Mom, if you want to go into that, we can do that.
Okay. We will kind of give a
brief summary.
A brief summary, because it's really too much to go into in full detail. But I was 28 weeks when I had Charlie.
Yeah.
And things just went from bad to worse, and for whatever reason... On that day, I had what they call a placenta abruption.
And is that what it kind of just burst?
What happened, it was like the placenta was tearing away from the wall. And at first, it was just a tear.
And then it got worse?
And then it steadily got worse. But I, hurried up. We hurried up and got to the hospital. And they were hoping that they could just put me on bed rest.
And there was a thing about Sandy, too, right? Your friend.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sandy... Pittman, well, when I was in school, her name was Sandy Pittman, Simmons now. But she's actually the one that led me to Christ. That's just a little...
Yeah, when she was my age, she was around, 14, 15, right?
Yeah, around there. And Sandy started, she was the one that got me to go to church, and I got saved and baptized at Morningside by a pastor named Gary Folds. Mm-hmm. But, she's the one that started that, and I'm so thankful for it. But...
Right.
Anyway, whenever she's and at that time she was an OBGYN nurse. So when all this started happening that day, I called her, obviously. But the weird thing about that day was that, that was back 17 years ago. I mean, I had either just, got my first cell phone or either I got a new cell phone and I didn't have numbers saved in it. But every time that I remember trying to call her, I always had to look her number up. I never could remember her number off the top of my head. Mm-hmm. And but for whatever reason on that day, it was like the Lord knew I just needed to speak with her ASAP, because her number just came to me just like that, and I was able to call her. Yeah,
because then you had to type it all in. It wasn't just like a favorites button or whatever, right?
Exactly.
You had to type them in.
Yeah, I think it was a flip phone or whatever. But, and I talked to her, and she says, something is definitely wrong, just get to the hospital now. And, so we did. And, like I said, at first they were just going to try to monitor me and maybe just keep me overnight, put me on bed rest. And they were hoping that the tear would stop. And, your dad, he had gone fishing that day, and he stunk really bad. He smelled like a big old fish. And so, we thought that that's what was going to happen. So he had actually left the hospital, was, going home to pick up clothes for me and just to get, other items. And
I mean, 'cause it was very sudden. It was like,
oh yeah,
right,
this was, I was feeling fine. There was no indication that anything was wrong whatsoever.
Yeah.
And so, when but he hadn't even made it home yet. By the time that I had to call me back and say, the whole placenta completely tore off the wall. And when that happened, it made it an emergency for me and for you. And
life and death situation.
Oh, for sure. And I was fixing to bleed out, and you were, with the placenta, that's how you breathe,
Mm-hmm.
And so everybody started rushing around me. I mean, anybody that's ever
nurses, doctors, anybody, right?
Yeah, so anybody that's ever been in that situation, people, if you're the one that's in that bed, people start rushing around you, you get scared.
Right.
I mean, you think to yourself, is this it? Am I going to wake up? Is my baby going to be okay? So it was, I was very scared, but, and the last thing I remember at that moment was, of course, that mask coming down on my face. And then
you were out.
I was out. And then the next thing I remember was your dad, standing beside me trying to wake me up. And, when the question that I wanted to ask so bad, but was so scared to ask it was, what about Charlie? Well, we knew your name was going to be Charlie forever, that.
Yeah.
But I was like, you tell me what's going on, But he knew I couldn't ask it. I was too scared to ask. But he told me, he was like, they think he's going to be okay. He's real tiny. Now he's real small. He's like 2 pounds, 13 ounces.
Yeah. Fit in the palm of your hand.
Yep. But they were going to life flight him to Shands in Gainesville. And they're gonna take care of him there. And so, I was like, okay, well, at that time, we were just thinking, okay, well, he's early and hopefully everything's going to be fine, yada, 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 and didn't know exactly what all was wrong. But, so anyway, then they put you on the helicopter. I mean, you wasn't even an hour old and you get to go on a helicopter ride.
Yeah, let's go. Woohoo.
And on the helicopter ride, they said that you were going to be a fighter because you pulled your ventilator tube out twice during the ride. So they said, to be so tiny and weak that you were very strong, actually, to pull it out twice. And after they got you to the hospital, they called us to let us know that y'all had made it okay. And that they would give us a report the following morning. Because by this time, it was like 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I believe, whenever you were born. Well, at this point, it was late. It was pretty late at night. And so then, after you were left, they started letting the rest of the family come in and see me. And I remember the mom told me that the nurse had come out and told her that, or told Dad, that she looks real bad. I mean, she's so pale, you almost can't tell the difference between
a dead person and
her and a sheet.
Yeah.
But because I lost so much blood.
Yeah.
And so they were giving me blood, and as soon as I got to see everybody and talk to everybody, kind of.
And do you remember those conversations?
No, not really. I remember Papa, my dad, your Papa.
Yeah, how can you forget him?
No. The first thing he said when he walked in was he said, "How you doing, Mama?" And I guess that was really the first time anybody had called me Mama.
Yeah.
So that's a special memory that Dad gave me. But after I saw everybody, they gave me Demerol, and I was out. Yep. I mean, your dad said that after they gave me that shot, it was just like, a second later, and I was just gone.
So hey, everybody.
I don't remember nothing else the rest of the night. But so the next day, I got released, and I remember the doctor saying that, we can't tell you not to go see your baby. We don't recommend it because I just had some major surgery, but we're not going to tell you not to go, but you really shouldn't. But of course,
I mean, you can't say no.
Of course not. So of course we did, and yes, I about fainted, but
it was okay.
Whatever. I mean, that's what wheelchairs are for, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we get to Shands, and we get to talk to the head nurse and the nurses that were taking care of you, and the doctors and everybody, and at that time they still don't know the extent of everything that's wrong with you, but they give us some of the stuff that's wrong. And I'll go into, I'll read the list of what we know was wrong. Because, they didn't find out about the brain bleeds actually until I think like the following day when they done a scan on your head. So that wasn't actually known at the time that you were, brought to Shands at that moment. Mm-hmm. But some of the stuff that you had the respiratory distress. You had jaundice.
What's that?
Well, you see, that's that where you're yellowish and they have to put you under like a lamp.
Oh, yeah. Isn't that like where, you get when I know some people, like if their liver's real bad.
Yeah, it's something, like that. And I think that's what this is. I mean, I'm not a medical person, but it's hyperbilirubinemia. I think that's jaundice, And then the bad part was the brain bleed. Mm-hmm. You had, it was called a bilateral grade 3 bleed on one side and grade 4 on the other.
And that can cause real bad brain damage, like really bad. For people that don't know that, it can.
Sure. I mean it can. And that's pretty bad bleeds. And then you had, the pneumothorax, which is a collapsed lung. Mm-hmm. You had the hydrocephalus, which is, that's called waterhead.
Yeah, and waterhead.
Waterhead. Yeah. And ROP, which is, retinopathy
of prematurity.
Has to do with your eyes.
Yep.
And then, of course, later on they found out you had the reflux real bad.
So pretty much every function, like main function, lungs, eyes, whatever, you name it, I had something wrong with me.
You had the anemia, and of course the feeding intolerance that they found out about that you just really had a hard time.
Yeah.
And so whenever, we found out all these things, and the doctor talked to us, he's like, well, we're just going to, so what we need to do next to, make him better and all this kind of stuff. And, I'm still hormonal and on these drugs that I'm not used to being on. And I was like, well, what's my job? What do I do? And he's like, you need to pump breast milk because for those that don't know, breast milk is like gold to a preemie. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's got so many nutrients in it that's really all they want a preemie to have is breast milk. And I said, well, okay, then I can do that.
And they said, don't diet either. Right?
Yeah. They said, don't diet. We want good, good fatty breast milk. And I was thinking to myself, well, that's the nicest thing anybody has ever said to me is not to diet. Yeah. So that was if there was any light in this whole situation was the fact that I didn't have to diet, and I was happy about it. But I did. I pumped breast milk like a crazy person. So every 3 hours, day and night, I would pump breast milk. Mm-hmm. And because that was my job. That's what he said. I like to have a job, and that was mine.
Yep.
And so every day I would come in and I'd bring all these vials. Some of it they would say to freeze. Some of it was fresh milk. And after about 2 or 3 weeks...
They said, stop it.
Yeah, they said I was fired. That's like, you are fired from your job.
Yeah, bring Trump in there like, you are fired.
You are fired, that's right.
But I mean, and you also, you just told me this like recently that you actually had so much that they allowed some of the babies that weren't, I guess you say, claimed or whatever, or I don't know how you'd phrase it, but you were able to help them.
They were abandoned babies.
And you were able to help them because they needed nutrients.
Right. And so they did get some of it. They just told me they didn't have any more room. They didn't have any more room to store it. So I was like, oops, sorry. I mean, I didn't know there was a limit on what I was supposed to bring in. But
right.
But anyway, you have plenty of breast milk, that is for sure. And so, but this went on, and they will tell you whenever you first get a baby in the NICU, that's what they call, those units. Mm-hmm. It's like a roller coaster ride. You'll have maybe a few good days where everything is going great and you think, we're going to be out of here in no time. And then it could be like a week of nothing but bad news.
Right.
And that's basically how it went. And it was scary. I mean, I would, during that time, your dad did have to go back to work. So a lot of the times I would stay at the apartment, which... Back then, I worked for people that, this is the last company I worked for like this. I will say this, and I can say it because I know they won't listen to this podcast, people I work for now. But these people really cared about me. I mean, and they rented me an apartment, and they still paid me my regular salary and gave us spending money for food or whatever we needed while you were at Shands.
So essentially, it was just like you take care of him. We got your life. Like
yes,
we got the rest.
They had everything covered, and
not to mention too, you had people like Dave with his foundation, and he actually, like, I've brought the story up before with my teacher, Mr. Ellenberg, helping his daughter with the cancer. That's how we were able to raise that $500. So, that foundation helped me all those years ago and then helped somebody else, that I know.
That's right.
And that's like the beauty of that. Like, even though,
right.
and Dave's like, he's passed away maybe about a year or two, but he's still helping people.
Exactly. I mean, that's kind of like the circle, I mean, at birth, they gave you money while you were in the hospital to help us, and then you help somebody else with that money. I mean, that's beautiful. And, but, so I stayed there in Shands, and so every day I would get up early and
kind of rush out of there, huh?
I would rush out of there, trying my best, and to get to the hospital, I just felt like I was just in a panic. I got to get to the hospital to see Charlie. I got to get there, and because at nighttime, that's whenever they would do the weights and they would get the doctor reports. And for those of you that don't know, I mean, every ounce for a preemie is so important,
right?
And so that's like the first question you ask when you come into a NICU is, did my baby gain weight last night? Did he gain anything? And I mean, it is very depressing, or you get really sad if they say, no, I'm sorry, he lost, an ounce last night.
And that ever happened?
Oh, yes, Charlie, it happened. I'm
really?
like, are you kidding me? He ate all this. Why did he lose weight, And, but yeah, it did happen. But, that's why I was like, I would rush to the hospital. And then I would get to the doors, and I would be, scared to go in because I was afraid they would give me bad news because you didn't know. I mean, now don't get me wrong. You could spend the night at Shands if I had wanted to.
But like, if you're in a hotel, I mean, look, for one thing, you were a mom you need a dress too.
Well, yeah, but there's nowhere to sleep,
No.
unless you want to sleep in a chair, which I just didn't see any sense in that, But you were scared. I mean, you just don't know what happened overnight.
Yeah.
You don't know what they're going to tell you when you walk through those doors and go into that NICU. So it's a scary thing every single day. And but they were fabulous there. I will say the nurses especially. I'm not.
And I don't know, we haven't really talked about it, but the hotel people did they know the situation?
The apartment people.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I didn't even know them because actually the people that I had worked for at the time.
Yeah.
They're the ones that set it all up. I never even talked to them. Never saw a bill. Never saw none of them.
Oh, okay.
All I did was give me the keys. Yeah, that's how fabulous my work people they were. And when I say work people, I'm talking
like they were almost like a family. Like
absolutely. And I'm not saying. And this wasn't just the people I worked with. This was all the Coggins too.
Yeah.
So many people out at the farm at that time where I worked. I mean, they were so good to me, and I will never ever forget what they done for us. But
and there's so many people that were,
absolutely
Ben Futch, so like I said, Dave, there were so many people that just
the prayers. I mean, we had people praying for us that we didn't even know.
Yeah,
and it was a very weird, sad, crazy time, but
also there's coolness in that. I guess you're like something. Hey, look at that.
Exactly. Yeah, but it was a blessed time too to see how many people were. That really had your back and that were...
My small wee little back.
Yeah, exactly. That were wishing us well and praying for us. So, but so it went on like this, like this roller coaster ride. Back and forth. And you at the NICU there, you have like a step down unit, then you have a more severe unit. Well, we did go back into a lot. I mean, we would get better for a few days. They send us to the step down unit. And then you get bad again, and they would take us back to number 3, which is the more severe. And and there was one day, which was a real bad day, the nurse called me and your dad in there. Well, actually, it was the doctor.
Yeah.
And she actually told us that, at that time, she didn't feel like you were thriving or getting better. And that if you did not get better and had to be put, at that time you were off the ventilator, had just gotten off the ventilator, but if you had to go back on the ventilator, that we needed to really have the talk and consider not putting you back on the ventilator and letting you go. And, it was just kind of like, I know they're doing their job, so I'm not going to down and talk bad about anybody, but it did make me mad. And I'm like, you do your job. we'll do ours, and he's coming home.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what was said. That's what happened. And
what they said, they were like, okay, right? But I'm assuming.
You know, you just keep doing what's going to help him. There's going to be something that's going to help him, you know, because they're looking at all, you know, obviously the medical stuff, and I'm looking at, you know, God, please, you know, save this baby, you know, and then you know, please save this baby. I mean, and all the prayers, and I just had a feeling, and you know, I don't know if your dad ever even told you this. You know, he had a dream. After we had the conversation with her, and we were distraught. I mean, because at that time, she did tell us that where the clots were about these brain bleeds, that where that, you know, they were, she felt like it was going to affect your walking, okay? And that she was pretty positive you were going to have cerebral palsy.
Yeah.
But if anybody that knows anything about cerebral palsy, which
it is a mixed bag.
Yes. I mean, it can range from anywhere from 1 to 500. That's how many different degrees there are of cerebral palsy.
Like, and I'll give you an example. So I've mentioned Marshall before on the podcast before. Mm-hmm. He has it, and he's wheelchair bound. I mean, does that stop him? Heck no, it doesn't. Mm-mm. But, you know, he is, and, you know, like, he struggles with his arms and legs, of course. That's why he's wheelchair bound. Right. But then there's a friend of mine that she has... Her arms, like, kind of getting to me. She has a limp, right, with her walking. Mm-hmm. So, like, her, I think, left side, or it's one of her sides, is messed up. Right. But she still is able to move around, things like that. Then you have me, you know, who, if you look at me on the outside, you wouldn't think there's anything wrong, right? But there's still the internal, like, you know, things wrong or whatever.
Yeah.
And then there's somebody else that even has it, like, even less that I know.
So there are so many degrees. Mm-hmm. But when somebody tells you that, you know, we really think your child's going to have cerebral palsy.
And be like, I mean, you kind of think the worst. You think, like, is it like brain dead or what? You know, I mean, that's seriously. I mean, you know, that sounds wrong, but...
The vision in my head, right or wrong, you know, I'm human. This is what I thought.
Yeah.
Was you being wheelchair bound for the rest of your life, slobbering on yourself, not being able to communicate with
right.
me.
And then...
You know, that's what I thought. But...
That's when Dad called Dr. Hobby, which he is right? Was that not Dr. Hobby then? Mm-mm. Or was that Bearden?
That was Dr. Bearden.
Dr. Bearden. Mm-hmm. So, you know, Hobby and Bearden are like two, like, renowned doctors down here. But Bearden, you know, Dad calls him and was like, so this is the situation. They're telling us all this stuff. And then Bearden's like, look, I'm not a baby doctor, right? You know, he was saying he's not a baby doctor, because he wasn't. Mm-hmm. But he said, it's too early for them to be telling you all this stuff, right?
Yeah, but, I mean, you know, babies are so resilient, they can really surprise you. But the dream, I'm going to tell you about the dream.
Yeah, I've never even heard this.
It was after we got the bad news. And
so was it that night or something like that?
No. I mean, this was probably a week or two after. I remember him saying, he's going to be fine. Charlie's going to be fine. I'm like, why? Why do you say that? He was like, I had a dream that he says, I was holding him, so I don't know if he was walking, but I was holding him walking around the pond. But you were alert and pointing at things. So Dad said he's going to be fine.
Wow, I don't know. He never told me that. Why did he never tell me that?
I don't know. You have to ask him about it, because I remember that, and I just now remembered it.
Yeah.
It's probably in that journal somewhere that I've been writing to you.
Probably.
But, you know, so, and then after he told me about this dream.
You were like, oh, yeah.
You know, I always felt better. I'm like, you know, that's got to be a God wink, because he's telling us it's going to be all right, guys. Don't worry. It's going to be fine. Mm-hmm. You know? And it was, because after, you know, and the thing after she said about the shunt, after, you know, if you had to go back on the ventilator, which you did, in comes Dr. Pincus, our hero.
Yep.
And he says, this boy just needs to be shunted. And what that is...
I mean, did the nurses and other doctors just not think of that option, or?
Charlie, I don't even know. I can't remember. It was a long time ago.
Right.
But I think that they called him in for a consult, maybe, because she kept having the apnea and bradycardia episodes, and where the blood clot was, basically, was at the base of your brain. So, from what I understand, and I'm probably going to get it wrong, is the spinal fluid couldn't circulate.
Right. Okay? So the way that Dad explained it to me,
go ahead.
is like a sink. Okay? So, like, everybody else's, like, you know, brain is like, you know, it's like a circular system. So, you know, it goes up and it like filters out, and again, I think it goes throughout your body, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you need the spinal fluid.
That's correct. Yes.
Well, mine, say like if you left the sink running for too long and it's overflowing, mine's like that. Right. It doesn't circulate throughout my body.
Right.
It's stuck up here in one place, and that's what the shunt prevents, because it filters it and takes it to where it needs to go.
Exactly. And so inside your body, and it was really odd whenever you were a tiny, skinny baby.
Because you could see that tube.
You could see all that tubing. I mean, you have tubing curled up in your body enough to last as you grow taller.
Which won't be that much longer.
Which I don't think you're going to need too much of that tubing, but you never know. You might hit a growth spurt, Right?
Yeah.
But
as I was like on an X-ray, you said you could see it.
Oh, yes.
Like, because I was so small, you could see it, and you now know the path of it because you know.
That's right.
And like, doesn't you say like goes behind my ear, and then it goes like across my chest, and then kind of around here, and then like it's curled up in my stomach and the bottom down here somewhere.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's really.
But it's the smallest little tube. Like it wouldn't interfere with none
No.
of my organs or nothing like that. It's so small.
Technology is truly amazing.
And that was back in 2006. Imagine what they could do now.
I mean, that was 17 years ago. I couldn't imagine what they would have to help nowadays. It was, But so after the shunt operation, it was like you didn't have those episodes anymore. And, and I don't know, Charlie, it's just like the blood your body started absorbing the blood, and it was like the answer. And they said that the shunt didn't cure everything as far as the blood goes, but for whatever reason, your body did start absorbing it or whatever. And, it just started, you just started getting better.
Mm-hmm. If you looked at the charts that they had on me and then looked at me, it's like, these are two different kids.
Well, that's exactly what everybody would say. They're like, something doesn't match here, And, of course, I always have to think that, God certainly had a hand in Charlie. And I always believe that. And it's just a fact. I mean, there is no doubt in my mind that you're here for a reason. Okay? There is no doubt in my mind. You got things to do, kid. Things to do. And, but after the shunt operation and, we got that done, and we had a little bit more time in the hospital, and then they finally said, well, it's time to prepare him for you to take him home.
And you're like, what? Wait a minute.
And I was like,
like a dolphin.
I was like, what, are you kidding me? I mean, at the hospital, I was used to everything. And, in my simple mind, I'm thinking, okay, well, I guess this is just how you have a baby. You have a baby and you go spend all this time at the hospital and you have all these people here. If anything goes wrong, they're right here, But, yeah, I was nervous. I was really, really nervous. But we did, at the hospital, they have this thing where you can actually, I forget what they call it, like a sleep-in. Before we leave the hospital, it's like a sleep-in with your child. They have a room off to the side where there's very uncomfortable little bed cot, and they wheel your little cubicle thing right in there with me, but you're still hooked up to monitors, but I can tend to you all night long just to make sure that I feel comfortable, and so that was fine. We did that. I think I did that for 2 nights actually. And then you passed the car seat test to make sure you could actually get from.
Yeah, and they had to stuff like pillows and stuff in my car seat because I was still too small to kind of fit in the car seat right.
Oh yeah.
And but yeah.
And then and we had one nurse that just loved you to pieces, Nurse Sylvia, and we were leaving and she's like, nope. She goes, you're not going to get to walk him down. She goes, I'm going to carry him down because you're going to get to carry him the rest of your life. She goes, I'm going to carry him down.
Oh.
And she was so sweet. And she was your advocate. I'm going to tell you, I mean, she gave me better information about what I needed to know
than half the doctors there.
Than the doctors there. And, you got to give these nurses, I mean, they're with
I mean, the nurses
patients
are the ones that see them all the time.
All the time. The doctors are there for, 5 minutes at a time? Not downing any doctors, please. Don't think I am.
But, I mean, that is true. The nurses are,
Exactly. And so I appreciated her so much that, she was just completely on our side helping us and you every step of the way. But we went home and, obviously the roller coaster ride did not stop there. And, you know that you had,
the shunt malfunction and...
That we had a shunt malfunction when he was at H4. We had, and just after we got home, I mean, because of the cerebral palsy, all kinds of PT, physical therapy, and we had to do speech therapy, but oddly enough, not for speech.
Swallowing.
It's for swallow and texture. His speech, he came out talking, y'all. He ain't stopped since.
Why do you think I'm doing this?
Yeah, right. And so he actually had to take formula up until age 2 because you couldn't stand texture at all.
The first thing I ate was a bag of Cheetos.
Yep, and we tested him out, and that was Miss Sarah. I want to say her Miss Sarah Rich, I believe was her name then. I think her name's something else now. But she said that, once he starts eating, you're probably not going to be able to get him to stop.
Facts.
Factual. Right. I know. But, and it was so funny. I remember, Cheetos was one thing she wanted us to try first, and we did, and he liked the Cheetos. And we're still giving him milk, too, when he was trying all this stuff. But there was one day we went to town, and I'm like, you know what? This is probably the wrong thing to do, but, he's past 2 years old. So I said, I'm going to give it a shot. I was like, I'm hungry, and I'm going to wheel through Wendy's, and I'm going to get this boy a
burger and fries.
A junior cheeseburger
and guess what?
Fries.
I didn't like the speaker when the lady came on.
No, he didn't like the loudspeakers when they come on. That made him cry. But he sure did like that burger, y'all. He did. He ate that burger and he ate that fries. And I look back there, he was enjoying himself so much eating that burger and that fry. Now.
Yeah, I enjoyed it till I didn't.
Yeah, did he throw it up 20 minutes later? Yes, he did. But
because I still had some acid reflux problems.
Right, but he sure did. It was almost worth it to watch him enjoy that burger and fry. Yeah, but after
only if you go to snap the picture.
I know. I was too busy driving, but it was something else.
Yeah.
But it was, so we've overcome, and we still have some things to overcome. Like he will always have cerebral palsy, but it's
thankfully it's not progressive. It's
right. It's never going to get worse, but it can get better if he would stretch himself. Which, that's just a task in itself to get him to stretch himself. But,
I know.
But we're thankful and we're fortunate, and we thank God every day that things turned out like they did.
Yeah.
And now, looking back at our time at Shands, it's a weird thing to say, I know, but I almost wouldn't trade it for nothing. I feel like things happened the way they were supposed to almost. And he is who he is because of his disability. And I don't know, I just wouldn't trade it. It was a very special time. Getting to spend all that time with my baby at the hospital. We did kangaroo care. I don't know, couldn't tell you how many times a day. I don't know if
did Dad ever do that?
I don't know if he ever actually kangaroo care. Probably not. He held you, but he didn't do kangaroo care.
Yeah.
And that's whenever you hold your baby skin to skin.
Right. There's a cute picture that I've got in my room actually where I'm still kind of small, but I'm curled up and he's sleeping. I was
yeah.
But I'm curled up on top of him.
Well, trust me, we didn't get sleep basically for the first 2 years of your life.
I bet.
You talk about The Walking Dead.
Oh, yeah.
We were The Walking Dead.
And here's just a funny story to lighten things up a little bit. Mom might know where I'm going with it.
Oh, boy, yeah.
So, the way our house was structured, we used to have a 2-story house, but, you'd have, you'd walk, there was a gap in this, on the bottoms, or whatever, I don't know how to describe it, but, you could walk between the kitchen and the living room, because there was, a carved out area where the stairs were, And so you could make a complete circle around the stairs and then go into the kitchen and the living room. Mm-hmm. Well, Dad would have to do this because of the bad reflux.
Yep. You did not want to be let down.
Right. I'd either have to, because I'd probably start crying, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'd either start, I'd cry or whatever, but I'd have to just burp or more than likely throw up, And there was one particular morning worked pretty much all night. It was all night long.
It was all night, yeah.
And my grandma, she'd come and watch me and look after me, a pretty good bit while my mom and dad were at work. And it's funny, she walked in the door. She said, "What time are you going to bed?" And my dad said, "Right now." He had not gone to bed when she walked in the door. And, he went and took a shower because I think there was a couple of times where he was probably covered in my throw up,
Yep.
Sorry if that's a little bit gross, but that's just how our life was.
That's the way it was, and hey, we would do anything in the world and still will. To get you through it,
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's pretty much
how it is now, and then now we're sitting here.
That's right.
Yep.
Yep.
You want to go into some other stuff?
Let's go on.
Okay.
I'm ready. What else you got, kid?
Oh, well, I got plenty of stuff. You know that.
I know you do.
Being it's just the second time we've recorded it.
Well, yeah.
But that happens.
That happens when you have dogs at the house.
Yep. Okay, so now we're gonna fast forward almost 15 years. Okay.
Okay.
Now we're gonna go to to now. Okay. Or about a year ago to now. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
So, when we're talking about Northside and just like the youth, in general, not Northside's youth, but when you look at the youth, do you see hope or are you worried about the future? And I know when we talked about this the first time, you were a bit, it was about 50-50.
Yes. And, Charlie.
It's hard, isn't it?
Because it's a hard question. It really is.
Because you look at Northside youth, for just to name off some people.
Yes.
Mikey, Steven, Baines, Ethan.
These wonderful kids.
And I know those are all guys, but there's plenty of girls out here too that
I'm a boy mom, so I know more boys.
Right.
That's what it is, but yes.
But you just see this fire in them,
Yes.
But then I go to Lowndes, right? And not to bash Lowndes at all.
No,
I'm not.
No,
but it's just
and there are some good kids at Lowndes.
And there's some great kids, but they are just lost.
Some of them.
Some of them
are.
Some of them aren't.
Not all of them.
No, but it's weird because you kind of sometimes you have to figure it out who's not and who is,
Well, that you may be, but I always, and like I've told you before, just be friends with all of them and try to help anybody you can.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's some. Oh, don't get me wrong. I know the weirdness that y'all have to deal with.
This stuff we have to deal with that you didn't even think about.
You're right, and I'm very fortunate. I have to. We didn't have to go to school with people that are. That are animals going to school.
Furries.
I don't understand what's going on there. We didn't have to deal with that.
Yep.
But the only thing that I can think of that comes to mind whenever you tell me stuff like that is they're seeking attention.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can possibly think of.
They have to be, and it's strange. There's no other way to put it. I just don't know how else to put it. It is strange.
I just think we just all have to pray for them.
Yep.
And I don't really have an answer for some of it, but I do think that I do feel hope. I gotta feel hope. There's always hope. Look
at the Asbury Revival. That was all college kids.
Exactly. Where there's God, there's hope, and we have God, so there is hope.
Yep.
That's all I can say about that.
Yeah. Okay, and we kind of talked about this, in that question.
Mm-hmm.
But, young people face things, like we said, things that you wouldn't even think of. And Miss Natasha and Mr. Brandon said that, when I talked to them.
Right.
They say that a lot, actually,
Right.
Even only being in their 30s,
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And if you're not in your 30s and you're younger, I'm sorry. But what's some advice you would give to me and to other, people that are trying to navigate this world in a biblical way? Of course, there's the whole, read your Bible and get in the Word and all. Of course, but is there anything else that you...
Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Can think of?
I got things.
Ooh, she's got things. She's got things.
One thing I would say, if you have not listened to Lisa Hannon's podcast, I would say please go back and listen to Lisa Hannon's podcast. She gives some great advice.
She does.
For the youth today.
And honestly, just a lot of the adults, which there's a bunch of them on this podcast, because I'm being honest, it's easier to grab them than it is kids.
Right.
And they give, Pastor Robbie and all the other pastors, Donovan, Cody, Ben. Even Ben, even though he's our age, he gives some great advice. Antoine, Justin, all of them, and they all give great advice. So I would go. And I'm not plugging it just to say, go listen to my podcast. But if you want some good advice,
I just love what Lisa had to say about about the youth being, go out and be dragon slayers.
Yeah.
I love that because put on your armor and do what you need to do.
And slay some dragons.
And slay some dragons. Do what you need to do. Every day you're going to have to, it's a crazy world out there. It is crazy. It's getting crazier by the minute.
Yep.
I think we can all agree to that. And, and another thing I said, of your circle.
Oh, that's so important.
You have to have that circle.
And and you can see this. God's definitely shown me that in the last couple of years that's so important.
That's right. And you got a circle today that I love them so much. They're your friends. I feel like they're my friends. Their family is my friends and your dad's friends, and anybody that knows anything about Charlie, just let me tell you, if he becomes your friend, he's not just going to be your friend.
Nope.
He's going to get the cell phone numbers and phone numbers and emails and everybody of your mom, your dad, your granny, everybody. He's going to be friends with your whole family.
Amen. Yes, I will.
I mean, everybody. And that's just the way he is. He's just going to be, friends with all of you. And I think I'm okay with it. That's great. Yeah, I mean, it's the circle. The circle matters so much.
It does.
And parents, we have to, I know it's hard, my word. I mean, I've done things and not done things that I should have done, so I'm not preaching to anybody. I can't preach to anybody about anything, but we just have to do better. I mean, we have to know
what's going on the phones and all that.
Yes, we got to know what circle our kids are in.
And just as an example, we talked about it when we did it the first time. When you look at all the people that I do podcasts with, the podcasters, right? Mm-hmm. Of course now we know, Donovan, Cody, Antoine, Ben,
right.
and Carter, and Justin, and all them. They're great people.
Right.
But of course, at first, you had to make sure that all of them they were like.
At first, I didn't know.
Who are these people, right?
Yeah, I mean, especially whenever my son was on.
It was a TikTok, yeah.
TikTok.
Let me tell you, and that was a weird. Well, I mean, I'm not gonna say I didn't like it because I met Cody on there, and then
you met some good people,
Yeah.
right? And you really don't do that one no more.
No.
But while he was on there, I had to know what was going on, so I made myself a TikTok. And,
Mama Bear's watching.
Yeah, that was my handle. Mama Bear's watching. I don't even know if they call them handles anymore, but that's what
your username.
Username, okay, whatever. But and so I know you talked to Cody more, I believe, on TikTok, right?
Well, that's where he met.
That's where y'all met.
See,
yeah.
And I'll give a short, brief summary on that story because we talked about it on his episode with coming up, but. Mm-hmm. How it worked was, because at first, I was going to do a video for a police friend of mine, Commander Stephen Thompson.
Yeah.
And I about gave up on it because nobody was saying, I'll send you a video and I'll put it together. Mm-hmm. But then Cody sends me, and now I think that this was God saying, you're going to make a great friend out of him.
Right. Yeah.
Sends me the video and he's like, are you still doing this, man? I was like, you know what? If a guy in the military is still, if he's telling me that, that he wants to do this, we're going to do it, because he's cool. Like, that's cool, Yeah. So I said, yeah, I'm still doing it, And I told him later that I wasn't actually going to do it, and then he got me back into it.
Right.
But we did it and gave it to him, and we started talking more. And then I remember that was like on a TikTok live, we go chat with them, whatever.
Yeah.
I was typing in there, kind of telling my story a little bit, and Alexa, his wife, because they were doing it together, wanted to talk to me more. They were like, let's actually join in on the live and talk together.
Right.
And I was like, okay, let's do that. And we started talking. They loved the operation hats, you know, and we just started talking. And then I would follow Cody, see what he was doing. And then, of course, it just happened to be he was a Christian. And then, I started my walk shortly after I did his podcast.
Right.
But, I just did this partly because I was on his and I just loved it. Completely, you know, because I was just following him. And then, so this is cool, what if I could do something like this? So I quit TikTok and then put this in place of it.
Right.
Which is a whole lot better. I'll say that.
Exactly. I agree.
But that's how it came to be. And then now there's about 6 of us all together in a group.
But you see, the whole time while he was, talking to Cody and all this kind of stuff, Mama Bear was watching. Because, even though, he... Charlie was saying, oh, he's a Christian podcast. Well, I wanted to make sure, Yeah. So I'm looking, to make sure, looking at the kind of things that he is posting. And I'm sure Cody is going to do that with his kids one day.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to make sure that whoever they're talking to, they're decent people.
Yep.
And I would expect him to.
Yeah. And trust me, because, I'd be like, does Big Brother Charlie need to come over all the way up to Ohio and mess somebody up?
That's right. And then when you started talking to Donovan, who I love him to pieces.
We do, yeah.
And but at first I was like, okay, who is this Donovan character? So I needed to go back and look at his stuff on Facebook.
And now he sends me and Mom stuff that's encouraging.
Exactly. So and I find out from the things that he posts and about his family that he is just a good godly guy, and that I am so thankful that he's in my child's life.
Man, that's just the 3 G's. Good golly guy.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So like I said, I'm not saying that I have certainly done things wrong and not done things that I should have done and should have paid more attention in a lot of ways, but we just all of us have to try and do better and pay attention and know what's going on.
Yep.
And especially make sure of the circle your friend your children are.
And that also youth watching, that affects your parents, whoever, you can see that with you.
Yeah.
Whoever you hang out with, it affects your parents. Because then if they're giving you a bad vibe and bad attitude, guess what's going to happen? It's going to rub off on you, and then you're going to come home and then put it on your parents and be like, what the heck's wrong with you? I'm just being honest. And sometimes you might just be in one of those moods and you don't know why, and that can happen.
Right.
But when it's an everyday thing, it could be the friends you're hanging out with.
It could be.
But I want to go deeper into how we did than what we did yesterday. Okay. So with this question, I'm just going to go and move to the last question. It's the Northside one.
Okay.
When you think about our time at Northside, you can name multiple things, but what sticks out to you the most?
I mean, the Bible conference for me is the top of the charts.
Yeah.
Still,
the Bible conference, and just the people in general too. My gosh, you will never find a more cheery bunch, and hey man, can you pray for me about this?
Oh, they're so supportive. They are very so supportive.
And I've said this multiple times with Pastor Robbie and any of the pastors, but especially Pastor Robbie, because he's the main dude.
Right.
You can sit there and he will have a conversation with each and every one of us. You can message him on Facebook, which I've done plenty of times, and he will talk to you and, pray about this if you ever ask. There's over 900 people in our church, but yet he still takes that time.
Right.
Which I think is, and, everybody does that. Miss Laura, Josh, everybody.
Right.
No matter who you walk up to. Heck, Mikey, I know Mikey does. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter. You could pretty much walk up to anybody and say, hey, can you pray about me for this? And
I know.
They would do it right then. I'm
just, kind of just blown over by the kindness and the...
And it's refreshing, because when we walked in here, it's because, with school and work, not to say that we didn't have kind people in our life, but not like this.
Not like this. The kindness that Miles and Lisa Hannon have shown me.
And me. It was they've really... Yeah. And, they... Miss Hannon, I was talking about her some stuff afterwards.
Right.
She was really just soaking it in and understanding what I was saying.
Right.
They
really listen.
They really do, yes. And I'll have Miles on, I'm sure soon, but when he talked about the college stuff.
Oh, man, yeah, I can't wait for him to be on. Right.
It was just I'm not going to say a smack in the face, but it was a really reality check, because the stuff happens.
Yes.
But you're to hear it from somebody, it's oh gosh, But, just this whole time at Northside has been so fun, hasn't it?
It has been beyond anything, and I
me and Ben said
it. Church before, but it has never been like this where I just couldn't wait to go to church.
Right, and me and Ben said it's if we could go to school here and do everything we do in life here.
I know
we would.
Wouldn't that be fabulous?
Because and not to say we don't like our school, but just some of the environment and some of the people.
Yeah.
It's hard,
Well, if you were here all the time, you wouldn't appreciate it as much. But I know one thing: I sure do appreciate it. I appreciate this place. I appreciate the people, the fellowship, the worship that goes on here.
Yeah, and and I've said it before, but of course, God has definitely put the right people in, as you say, positions of power. I guess you could say, you know what I mean, or leadership roles. All of them, I was asking Ethan when I talked to him, all of them are about field, I might be fixing to take on one, who knows, not a leadership role, but a role,
Yeah.
But it's crazy also too how many opportunities they give young people to further their education and just have do something here and then do something for college.
Because they know where our future lies.
Yep, it lies in the youth. And, that's one thing, Because, I hear people talk about, oh, yeah, we don't have a really big youth group in our church. That's your problem.
Right.
Invest in the youth.
They have to.
But that's the problem. Like, I know that might sound a bit harsh, but that's the truth.
Yeah.
If you, and, I know that, like, people say, oh, you don't need the big flashy lights and stuff. Well, yes and no. But here's the thing, our youth today, we're like, technology does,
right.
Tracked us, yes.
No.
But, and I'm not saying you have to do that, no. But, like, you kind of want, I don't know how to really describe, you know what I'm saying?
Well,
like,
I think that Northside does a fabulous job with combining
each age group,
both,
because there's a lot to, because we have the, say the big screens, for words and all that up in the sanctuary, and the lights, of course.
Well, my goodness, I think every age appreciates those big screens because half of us can't see, Charlie.
Exactly. But we have some technology, but it's not enough to where the elderly are like, I feel so out of touch. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
and plus,
or the
I think the elderly here,
well, yes, the seniors.
The seniors. Let's call them the seniors because it's not going to be that much longer before I'm going to have a seat right there in the senior suite.
Right.
When you really think about it, and I think they're more hip than you think.
Probably are.
I think they're a lot hip.
They hip. Yeah.
They're hip. Yeah.
And
that they appreciate, all this. But I just think that Northside does a great job with balancing all the age groups, and I can't say enough good.
Honestly, they do a really good job of balancing it, and because I know that like they say, oh yeah, I'm sure in this area. Well, of course, Northside, it's not perfect. I'm sure there's areas we could work on, But like that is one aspect that you really can feel is when you walk in, you can tell that they, really care about everybody who walks in the door.
Absolutely.
Regardless of who it is.
Oh, yes.
And I think that too, that goes also just to the staff and everything too. They help that. Of course, God's on this church, but like and God put all the pastors and all to help create this environment that everybody loves to come to.
Absolutely.
Like I said, me and Baines, we'd love to come up here way more often.
I know it. I know. Well, me too. I love it. Love being here too.
And trust me, even on the days where I just come up here like on a Tuesday when there's nobody in here, and I do like a podcast episode, makes me feel better.
Yeah.
It's like you're just here and you know what goes on here.
Right.
And I've said this so many times, but like for people that don't go to Northside or just church period, but like especially Northside because all the stuff going on. Why are you not why do you want to be not a part of this? You know what I'm saying?
Even if they're not a part of this, maybe they're.
Well, yeah, all the stuff that's going
something,
on, right?
Just be a part of something.
But you know what I mean? Like, there's so much going on. Like, there's so much exciting things going on.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, be a part of it. You can. All you got to do is just walk through the door. I know that sometimes it's easier than done for some people.
Well, it is. Sometimes people take more of a nudge than others. Do. For me, Charlie, it took you to get back into a church.
Yep.
And I don't even know why.
And that was
I don't even know why I stopped, other than the fact that
just life caught up with you.
Antoine and his sayings.
There's a lot of life.
A lot of life happened between the time that it's not an excuse; it's just a fact. But a lot of life did happen between the time I got saved and baptized, way back when.
Yep.
And between the time that
And we just that was such a great day.
No, it was the best day.
Well, it was.
The best day,
honestly, really. And just to know afterwards that, I was the first person and that's just I know that I say that a lot, but that's just a really cool nugget. It's like, out of all the people, like I said, there's still, at the time there's probably around 900 still, that were at that church. I was the one that God chose for Pastor Randy to baptize first.
Yeah. You were, that's right.
So that's still so cool, and I will not stop saying it because that's so.
You will not
cool.
Stop because I know you.
Nope. I won't.
You will be saying it whenever you're 90. Did y'all know that I?
Yeah, I will. Yeah,
and that's all right.
When there's a plaque of Pastor Randy or like a picture up on the wall in here, I'm like, that man right there done baptized me, the first one.
And that's okay, honey. It's something you're proud of, and you say it as many times as you want to.
Yeah.
But
as we wrap up here, do you have any final thoughts or anything?
I do have final thoughts.
Oh, I bet you have plenty, but what you got?
We'll talk about the positive final thoughts I have, right?
Yeah.
I can't believe you're going to be 17.
Oh.
That's one thought.
I know.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
I am so proud of you. I cannot believe I remember the first time you came to me and said that you wanted to do a podcast. I was thinking,
this is going to last for 2 days.
That's kind of what I was thinking. I'm not going to lie to you.
Well, you said the same thing about Operation, and look at that.
Well, that makes me sound so.
But no. I mean, seriously, I get it, because that's 2 big undertakings, and you're like, there's no, I don't know, because kids get dreams like that all the time.
Right.
But
I honestly feel like you have, you've improved. If you go back, of course, I don't understand. I will never understand why you won't listen to your own podcast, but that's for a conversation for another day. But if you go back and listen to the very first one to the recent ones you have done, it's like night and day. You've learned and improved so much. I honestly believe you have found a niche. I'm just really, really proud of you. I'm proud of, we all have things we can work on.
Yeah.
Me, you, everybody. We are not perfect by any stretch. But we try to keep learning, and we're going to keep reading our Bible, you and I together. I like to do that. Mm-hmm. We're a little bit behind on our Bible reading.
We'll get there.
But we're going to get caught up, and we're going to learn it together, bud.
Yep.
Yeah. But
did you enjoy it?
I enjoyed it, yes.
Good.
And I think we're good.
Yep. Love you.
I love you too, buddy.
It's been fun. Yep. And with that, another episode of the Young Minds Podcast comes to a close. Always remember, you are never alone, and faith is action. So let's get out there.